Scalpers have ruined the entire franchise for me. That's a real comment posted 3 days ago on a Pokemon subreddit. It received 1,200 upvotes and 237 comments. And the scary part, it's not an unpopular opinion. This hobby, the one that millions of fans grew up loving, collecting, obsessing over, has turned into something that most fans don't even recognize anymore. And today we're gonna talk about why and if it's too late to fix it. But here is where it gets uncomfortable. Buried in those 237 comments, I found this. It takes two to tango. The absolute clowns that buy from them have as much of the blame. Scalpers love Pokemon because it's so profitable, and Pokemon fans will find not having the product more offensive than being scalped. I'm not going to lie, that one stung a little bit. And the reason why is because I personally have been guilty of it. No shame, I'm a fan, I love breaking cards open, and it's been extremely difficult to find it at retail stores, like all of you already know. And please don't get me wrong, because as easy as it is to point the finger at scalpers, and yes, believe me, they do deserve it, this comment is asking a much harder question. Who created the demand that is making this so profitable right now? If nobody bought from scalpers, then scalpers will go and flip something else. But the reality is that we do buy, the community buys, because missing a set launch feels unbearable. Because FOMO in this hobby has been weaponized and it works. So before we go any further, we have to be honest about that. Now, before the comments explode, because I know they will, there is another voice on the comment thread that pushes back hard on that last comment. Most genuine fans are not buying from scalpers. Most scalper sales are other scalpers that continue to hike up the price. And okay, fair point. That's a real dynamic. Scalpers are flipping to other scalpers, artificially inflating the value and cost of a lot of popular Pokemon products right now. We all have seen it by now. New card drops, it's valued at $50. Few days go by, and by the end of the week, that same card is now valued at over $200. Not because collectors drove up the price, but because these resellers are playing hot potato with the same inventory. Here's the thing that no one in this thread wants to say out loud. If fans are not buying from the scalpers, then why are the scalpers still here? Why is this hobby so profitable for flippers today than it's ever been? Something doesn't add up, and that answer takes us to something much bigger than Pokemon. Because here's what started happening inside of the community. And I quote, "They only care about the TCG and its ability to make them money in the secondary market. If the TCG stopped being massively profitable like it was back in 2002 and 2018, I guarantee people will instantly stop being interested." 2002 to 2018, when the Pokemon hobby existed quietly. Back when people were collecting for the love and the passion of the hobby. When card values grew organically and older cards, older sets start to appreciate in a normal market. Not because some random strangers is paying 3 or 4 times the price on a particular card or set on eBay. And then something changed. Passive income from Pokemon cards. Think about what that sentence would have sounded like to a 10-year-old ripping up packs back in 2005. But here's the thing, and this is the part that most Pokemon channels won't tell you. This wasn't random. This wasn't just scalpers being greedy. This was a wave. Around 2019 and 2020, something happened. The broader collectibles market changed everything. Investors with real money, wealthy investors, sophisticated money started to enter the hobby in droves and started paying attention towards collectibles as legitimate asset classes. Sports cards, comics, sneakers, luxury watches, all of it was up for grabs from investors with a ton of cash. Study after study started showing that rare collectibles were outperforming conventional and traditional assets.
Trading cards are moving from dusty binders to investment portfolios, and it's not just sports cards. This Pokémon card sold for almost $17 million in February 2026, the most expensive trading card ever sold.
It's possible that you may never see that card come up for sale in our lifetime.
Since 2004, some Pokémon cards are far outpacing the broader market. For example, this card, if it was in perfect condition, would return significantly more than the S&P 500. And now, investors and celebrities are taking notice of the now $100 billion market too.
Outperforming stocks, outperforming bonds, and in some categories, outperforming real estate. And when that got out, the money followed. Pokemon was just the perfect storm. Nostalgia from the most recognizable franchise on the planet. A built-in adult collection base with disposable income. Artificial scarcity baked into the product by design. And a global pandemic that sent bored people online looking for something to obsess over. Logan Paul breaks open a first edition $200,000 box on a live stream. Post Malone is collecting, and Gary Vee, the most famous online investor and business person online, is talking about Pokemon like it's the S&P 500. This hobby didn't get invaded by scalpers, it got discovered by Wall Street. And once that happens, it never looks the same again. And maybe the hardest part of all of this is that someone inside the thread already knew everything that I just told you. This is the eventual endgame for any product built on scarcity that becomes mainstream. It is the very definition of the capitalist model and therefore will not change. The Pokemon company won't change their business model. They are laughing all the way to the bank. The people holding cards as investments will not massively sell. Scalpers will continue to exist. The hobby is ruined. But that was going to happen regardless, because the brand is just too popular and rarity is artificially maintained. Read that again. The hobby is ruined, but that was going to happen regardless. Not the hobby got ruined by bad people. Not the hobby got ruined by the mistake of somebody else. The hobby got ruined by its own success. By that one thing that every single brand on earth is desperately chasing: mass popularity, cultural relevance, and mainstream appeal. Pokemon achieved everything a brand could ever want, and it cost the people who loved it first everything.